okay? Because this question is threefold. First off, you shouldn't be calling the bureaus, period. I don't understand why you're calling the bureaus. Are you calling the bureaus for what reason? To double check if the letters got there? So I wanted to do a video this morning discussing exactly what was asked to me, and I'm gonna phrase this question. So let me ask you this: as a mentor I have suggested to call the bureaus after 3 weeks. With this conflict with my letters in my client's calling experience based on the letters they did not process. So here's the thing, and I answer this question threefold, okay? Because this question is threefold. First off, you shouldn't be calling the bureaus, period. I don't understand why you're calling the bureaus. Are you calling the bureaus for what reason? To double check if the letters got there? The investigation process has to happen. You cannot push that investigation process forward or quicker by doing and calling the bureau. So what needs to happen is you need to let them run their investigation process and do what needs to be done. Calling the bureau, getting the guy's number, getting their ID, and all that can only help set up a case if you plan to sue. But if you're not planning to sue, there's no need to call them. The guy that owns the software said, leave the bureaus alone. So your mentor, and this goes with everybody else's mentors that is saying call, there's no need. You don't need to call. You don't need to get that information. Now here, I want to break down this information. Say you get the stall letter. They have the letters, okay? Say they're processing and they stall it out. They're doing their investigation. They don't have any information. They're going to say it doesn't arrive. Now what's going to happen? You're going to open up a can of worms with your clients to tell them, hey, okay, but the letters haven't arrived. You got a stall letter, which you know that they have arrived, but they can call and tell you that they never got them in that same thing, because the processing department who's dealing to let you know that it got there and the dispute department are two different places. And what I mean is the people that you're talking to on the phone are not the same people that process your letters. So they don't know if your letters have been processed. They get a check mark in a machine, or they get a status that says it's been processed. So me discussing this with you and talking to you about this is I want to create a logic step with you guys. Here's the logic step. Here's how you call the bureau if you want to run that play. First off, you run mail with tracking. Why do you run mail with tracking? I know it's arrived at the P.O. box on this exact date. It's here, okay? And because it's here and we know that it's arrived on this exact date, we don't have to second guess if it's gotten there. If they turn around and tell us it's not there, well, you could say, well, here's my tracking number, and my tracking number says that it arrived on X, Y, and Z date to the P.O. box that is listed on the thing. So all of a sudden, now you're putting them in a bad position. You're actually putting them in the position where they're like, because you have the tracking, okay? With the standard letter with no tracking, there is no way to call them out on that. Hence, why calling the bureau with no tracking doesn't do you any good. Because if they say that they didn't get your letters, who's the first person you're coming back at? Me. I may send you pictures. I could send you me loading the envelopes into the back of the truck. And if they say they didn't get it, who's the first person you're coming after? Me. But if you have mail with tracking, immediately, you know they're full of crap. So now it changes the whole game. You're not going to open up a can of worms, right? If you do it the way that they have it with the mail with tracking, you leave them, you go after them, and then what'll happen is now you can process in that I don't suggest 3 weeks, I suggest 5 weeks. Why 5 weeks? You got to give them at least 30 business days to do some sort of investigation. So on the 5th week, you can call them and say, hey, look, agent so-and-so, can I get your number? Things like that, like your mentors were probably saying. I'd like to know the status of my letters. And they'll tell you the status of your letters. It's either an investigation, X, Y, and Z, whatever. Okay? And by doing that, all you do is now take their information number and you go there. If they say that they haven't arrived and they haven't gotten them, well, then you can call them out immediately. And you have that. You have to be prepared to call the bureau. If you call the bureau and I'm sending out the letter, and just being an example, because happens all the time, okay? If you call the bureau and they say they don't have the letter and you don't send it out yourself, you're going to want to hold somebody else accountable, because it's like, well, I paid the person. All they have to tell you is they didn't do something, and immediately it triggers, who do I blame? Well, we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to be prepared for what's coming. We know that we're going to say they either didn't receive the letter, it's a stalled letter, it didn't look like it didn't come from you, the information that they have is not verified, okay, which is your ID information, or they can't tell you what's going on. These are 5 things that they go through. How do I know? Been through it. So you're preparing yourself immediately for those responses, right? By, excuse me, by knowing exactly what needs to be done. Knowing that I didn't send it out this way, so I'm not calling them. I'm not calling them. I got a response. That's the thing. Just run my next round in 30 days. But if you're going to run that play, and you're not sending out your own letters, okay, then you have to be ready to counteract what they're saying. Now, I got to say something to you. On the opposite, I put in the mail order form. It could take up to 21 days for standard mail to arrive. It could take, from my understanding with standard mail, it could take up to a month to 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks at a bad time for it to arrive. So it could take 4 to 6 weeks for it to arrive. So let's put this in perspective. Say you call 3 weeks later. Your mail is still with the post office. Did it arrive? No. They're not lying to you at that end. They're not lying to you. But at the same time, now you got all this negative stuff going in your head. So what happens? Because you have all that negative stuff going in your head, you're going to come back, right? You're going to come back. You're going to say, well, my mail didn't arrive, even though the mail is out, but it'll arrive next week. So you have to be prepared with all the scenarios that can possibly happen. And that's why we give it on the mail order form, that it could possibly happen. So for you to be prepared with the answers for that to come in, then to do that. I do not suggest calling in 3 weeks. I do not suggest calling, period. I suggest leave that alone. You're handling it, because here's what they're going to do. Okay? If you call, the last period, if you call, last thing, they can get you to nullify your dispute letter. What do I mean by that? They can get you to put in a dispute with them over the phone, which gets rid of the dispute letter that you actually put in, or your attack letter. So for example, just giving this if your attack letter says X, Y, and Z needs to be removed because it doesn't match on this bureau, it doesn't match on this bureau, if it doesn't match on this bureau, the account numbers are incorrect, this is incorrect, this, okay? And it has everything all listed out, and they go run a basic over-the-phone dispute, it's 99.9% going to come back verified. I've had too many people come back verified. But at the same time, we've had people send in a letter, and we have some people in this group send in a letter, first round get removals. Why? You have to make sure that the software is doing the work for you. The reason that they send that third-party stall letter out is they need to do a proper investigation, which means, oh crap, I got to get my shit in order. So you're getting them to stumble. Understand that. So just go and keep hammering it away. Now, do I agree with your mentors and what they're doing and telling you to call? No, I don't. I do not. I agree with the person that created the software. When I was running a credit repair business, we never ever called. We only called for inquiries. That's the only thing. We don't call. You just do your job. You keep sending letters out, because here's the thing. They can manipulate the call to their liking. You get the person who's you spoke to ID, whatchamacallit, their number and their name, unless you're creating a law case and you have an attorney ready to rock and roll. What are you calling for? That's my personal opinion. I call when I have my attorney. Well, when I had my attorney in place, I call, I handle that, and we get everything ready to rock and roll and send it to the client. And we're like, okay, here, client, Mr. Client, you're going to go over here to the attorney. The attorney is going to handle you going forward. This is all the information that we've done. Now you do what you need to do. So now the client has all that data, and then they're ready to rock and roll. But we never called or did anything if we didn't have to. We use M2 just the way M2 is. Okay? That's the same thing that I'm telling you guys. Now, do they get results? Probably. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no. But I've seen people get results with some of the most craziest things that they've done. You've got to be ready to rock and roll and make everything the way that you're going through it proper. And so the question that was posed to me, I've answered it like 4 different times. But do you suggest calling? Absolutely not. When talking with your client, you have to prepare them for that. Here, look, the mail could take some extra time to get there, and this, that, and the other thing. So just ignore it. We know that the letter has gotten there with the stall letter. Do not call, because at the end of the day, they're posting their investigation, but their investigation, they're going to tell you that they didn't arrive it, or they're going to tell you that they didn't like something on the letter. FYI, they still have to investigate the letter. They still have to. Whether they feel it comes from you or not, it's illegal for them not to. Okay? So, just letting you know, they could stall you out 3 times, which means try to drag out the case while they investigate. But at the end of the day, after that, they have to actually move forward precisely. That's what I would talk to my client about. I also, sitting down today and talking about this today, my biggest thing is make sure that if you're not doing mail with tracking, if it's out of your reach, to create proper steps for your business on how to, if you're going to call. If you're not going to call, just keep rocking every 30 days. If you're doing mail with tracking, just wait until you see it says arrived. I would say give it 5 days just to get in from them, to get it from the post office to the to the bureau and run through the e-asker machine. Give it 5 days, and once it arrives in 5 days, then I would give them a call at that point. So you don't even have to wait. Our new mail with tracking supposedly arrives quicker, but I won't let anybody know that in the thing. We're gonna stay with where we're at with the date, time, and frame. Also, remember, U.S. Post Office does not run on major holidays, especially with this video coming up around Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. That's going to stall out the letters in the sense of how long it takes to get there. Oh, this is perfect. Write down that I remember this. Snail mail, which is standard mail. Right now, if you're running standard mail in the next 2 months, God have mercy on your soul. It's gonna take more time for it to get to where it needs to go because of the overflow that's coming in from the holidays. So I want everybody to understand that. And oh my God, this is perfect right here. For the next 2 months, from November to January, I want to say I'm gonna give it a little bit of a buffer, just to be conservative. Let's say January 10th. It's gonna be running a little slower after that January 10th, when all those boxes and returns stop going back and things like that. That's when we'll have a better sense of the post office going back to normal. And that's where, again, talking to you guys, making sure that you guys understand that. This was a longer video. I didn't plan on recording it this long, but this is exactly what we're, talking about in the sense of handling it and handling everything properly. I'm going to make sure Micah uploads this to YouTube. Once he's done uploading it to YouTube, then you guys can have it in the group. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.